Tevez da solo, Tevez all'interno dell'area, ma fuori tutti, Tevez, si apre la porta, Tevez, gol, da dietro, Pirlo dentro,
All right, Juventini, welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel. Of course, it's all Juve all the time. Everybody that's here out of the gate, take that second and like the video, okay? And subscribe to the channel if you're new here. We're going to say good morning to everybody. Anth, how are you doing, man?
Living the dream, my friend. It is a Monday morning. Really busy weekend for me, trying to get back to the grind here. No Baileys in the coffee this morning because I want to keep it on the straight and narrow.
Oh, man, there you go. There you go. Straight and narrow. That might come up in some of the news this morning. Straight and narrow. But, oh, man, I'm a little tired myself, so we'll see how this show goes. Last night I showed up to my team's football match, and we had 8 guys. And it took me back to Italia early 90s because we had to go full park the bus. We got a 0-0 draw out of it, and we were the only team to hit the crossbar. And we almost stole that one.
I do not miss those days one bit.
It's the worst. It's been like 6 games in a row where we barely have enough to play. But anyways, I'm exhausted. So everybody that's tuning into this on your audio outlets, get over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel for all your extras, okay? Daily update news videos, obviously match day lives. I did a watch along for Roma. This was the first watch along of the season for us. I may not be able to bring you one for Spezia because the midweek ones are very difficult to do, but should be back at it on the weekend. That was a lot of fun, and I thank everybody who joined in. We had an awesome watch along to kick off the season.
And the new setup looks great.
Yeah, that was good. We had some sound effects, had the crowd chants, got the scoreboard going, clock, even though my feed kicked off about a minute late, but I made it work. We caught up, had it going. It was awesome. I literally realized I was just a bit off, sped forward just in time to see Vlahovic, his banger in that free kick there. So yeah, it was worked out good for that. Bobby, good morning. Pog Mentors 2.0. We're going to talk Pog. We're going to talk Pog there,
yes,
Bobby. Tom Snipes here. Morning, guys. Good performance last game. Apparently, Smalling got a handball, but it wasn't called. I saw that replay on the video, and it was interesting because while it was getting looked at live, I actually didn't see it at full speed and didn't see it even on their replay. And it was very, very interesting. We'll talk about that, too. I think we had a couple that were very similar that were called against us last season. I seem to remember one for sure. Morning, let's build up from that Roma game and improve on it. Absolutely, Mohammed. So before we get going on talking about the recap of that match, we will tackle a bit of the news here that's circulating today, okay? So we're going to kick it off with basically the midfield. So the midfield. It looks like Fagioli's contract extended, okay, and it's gonna go to have to laugh at that Nedved comment. Okay, Nedved's a legend. I love him. Now let's go. Fagioli's extended 2026, okay, but still looking to be one of the guys in the middle of the park that's going to be moved. It looks like it's going to be Artur, Fagioli, and Rovella that will be moving out. Okay,
not confident Artur gets done, but agreed.
Yeah, it's a couple days. I'm still thinking it's not going to happen. And based on the reports that were coming out over the past couple of days, it looks like he's getting the Ramsey treatment because he is fit. So according to the latest reports, he's fit. He just wasn't in there and probably won't be used. He doesn't want to be a Juve. Juve wants to move him on. Hopefully they can find a resolution there because there's nothing worse than a guy that's sitting there. Taking up space, taking up money, whatever, and
big money.
Yeah. So hopefully they can find a resolution there. I want to get your thoughts on the 7 that apparently it would become in the middle of the park, and that's Rabiot, McKennie, Zaccaria, Locatelli, Miretti, and I did say Pogba, right? Pogba.
Yep.
So
yeah, this may come as a shock to some people, but I really think 8, it's okay to have 8 just on like the injuries and people coming back to fitness. I really would have liked to seen Rovella stay. The Fagioli one, I get it. we talked about this a lot.
Paredes. That's banking on Paredes coming in. He would
That's
be
correct.
set.
That's correct. So I understand, Paredes sort of takes the Ravella spot, and I get all that, but just on the simple track record of this team's fitness, I don't trust 7 going to be enough. I would, and you can't really recall players from loan halfway through the season. That's really not fair to the other team. The other team isn't going to put anything in the clause to allow that to happen. So you kind of hamstring yourself there. Then you start playing players at a position like we did last year with all these weird formations. So I'm not okay with 7. I would be okay with 8. Some people say that's too much, but I'm not comfortable with it. With Fagioli going out, I'm actually surprised at how good Moretti is, and a lot of people are saying, "Look, I told you so," and rightfully so. Like this kid is playing up to expectations. We can talk a little bit about him later, and good that he's staying. I didn't think he'd be the one of the 3 that would stay, but hey,
I gotta say that was the first time that I watched and saw Miretti and thought, okay, there it is. Everything before and whatnot, I was like, okay, yeah, he's got definitely some good qualities and whatnot. But this match against Roma was like, that was the one where it's like, okay, this is it. Like, let's get after it and we can move forward with this guy. He brings that dynamism you need in a midfield. Like, he's that guy now while Pogba's out that we should be playing in that slot, right? I think I'm going to say something that's kind of contrary to what I usually say and what I usually stand for in terms of business for Juventus. The fact that we couldn't move Rabiot and that deal fell through, it doesn't make it right. But it's something I would have done, and that's move one of McKennie or Zakaria, to be 100% honest, because we're still out of those 7 carrying those 3 that are very, very similar. So if you look at the list of midfielders, and maybe the solution is, like you say, okay to go with 8, right? And keep another guy around. But then all of a sudden, you're not going to give a couple guys enough minutes, I think, in terms of rotation. But it's contrary to how I like to see the team operate, and that's if a guy shouldn't be moved, you're moving him. But to be honest, I think we probably should have, for variation in the middle, and be able to keep one other guy that we probably could use. Because if you are going to go into this season and you think that Locatelli is a solution at Mezzala, which is kind of what it appears they're planning for, and Paredes being the main regista, well, if you're going to send Rovella out and then you're keeping Locatelli in, but he's going to be the change up to Paredes, well, you're still carrying Rabiot, Zakaria, and McKennie. And to me, those 3 are very similar. So it doesn't make what I'm saying right because of the fact we just couldn't move Rabiot, but I would find a deal for one of those 3 to move on, to be honest, because you're just going to carry, and we're going to get into scenarios throughout the season where we're going to sacrifice in that middle of the park, unless he could come up with a 4-2-3-1 when guys are fit and find that freewheeling player in the hole there, right?
And you can't really overstate what you said there at the beginning. The Rabiot deal, it's you can't shop players while you're trying to move the one that you need to move, right? Because then you might get into a situation where you get a deal, like a couple good deals, right? Maybe 2 good deals coming for McKennie and Zakaria, and you're waiting to pull the trigger on those, but then you're trying to get Rabiot up, and then Rabiot stays, and it's sort of not good business to put a player forward, get into an agreement, and then pull that deal off the table. You don't want to get into be a team that does that. So it's a very tricky situation, and I get it. Like you want to move one, but I can see how this summer I think they might have been trying to do too much, like clean up too much, and they just couldn't get any of it done. It was a tough summer to get things done, and I think they did the best they could. But I agree
think
that players with the same.
Overall, still a really, really strong window. The cleanup, we talked about, this gets a hell of a lot easier moving forward because you got contracts naturally coming to an end, right? So next year will be next summer will be a very, very interesting one, and a little more freedom for Cherubini and Arriva Bene to operate. And do not rule out the winter transfer window this season, because there could be some interesting action coming off that World Cup too. So it's
I'd like
going
to
to
get
be
your
interesting.
thoughts really quick before we move on to the news. I see a lot of people saying we need a left back. You've been saying we need a left back. My thing is, and I'm not going to take full credit for this. I'm going to give Lou the credit here. Which left backs are out there? Because Molina wasn't coming here. Udogi from
Udoji,
Udinese
yeah.
wasn't
So
coming here.
Molina was right back. Udoji left
Right.
back option. Left back options, we had Windal as well. I'm not sure. I think he ended up signing somewhere, or maybe
Right
even
there,
with the team
there
he's
isn't
at.
this massive
The
left back
Lodi one
market.
is a little bit of a piss off, because that one's a piss off.
Sure.
It's like he was one of our targets, and all of a sudden, like, he's going out on like a loan with an option.
To Nottingham Forest.
Is it loan and option, or is it loan and obligation? Even if it's
Maybe
loan and
someone in the chat can
obligation,
help
the
us with
Lodi
that.
one's a piss off.
Yeah.
Like
But did he
that
want? So
one's a
that
piss
one,
off.
it was almost like the club Atletico was blocking that one, and then now all of a sudden, in the last couple of days, he said, "Oh yeah, he's available for loan." After we allegedly made an offer, the next day, like a couple of days ago, we made another offer, and then the
So
club
thank
the
you.
next day.
Thank you, Havard there. Option. So it's option. Loan and option. I feel like that's Atletico being like, hey man, you should have taken Morata. Screw you. And I
And
would
that
have done it
very
if
well
it
could be the
meant Lodi.
case.
I would have committed to Morata, even though I said I wouldn't have earlier. Like, if it would have been a difference, like Lodi would have been a big, big impact on that side. But yeah, it's tough. There's a few moves we would have liked to see get done and whatnot, but is what it is. But it
It is
is
what it is.
that deal. Apparently waiting for them to finalize something with Fabian Ruiz. Okay.
Yep.
But again, we wait and see. It's interesting with Fabian Ruiz too. We had to wait for moves in the middle of the park, and now it appears that it's just going to be Bajoli, Rovella on loan, Arthur maybe moving out somewhere, but we've got the room, so those three, some will happen there. Pogba. Okay, so weird. I come back from the lake, okay, yesterday.
Yep.
And I start looking at these the news feeds and everything. What on earth is going on? Like, it was just madness. I'm reading about Pogba being extorted by his own family, okay, like blood brother and a gang and whatnot. All of a sudden, I see Nedved stumbling down the streets like he's been hanging out with Joe Cappuccino too long.
Happens.
Dude, wild stuff. So the Pogba story is crazy, is
Yeah.
absolutely crazy.
One at a time. So allegedly, he was being extorted for $13 million from, some sort of organized
Well,
crime
childhood friends and whatnot that took
or
him to an
whoever.
apartment, and all of a sudden, yeah, there was
13 million euros, and then his brother's a part of it. But now his brother's coming out saying, he's lying. He's also a voodoo witch doctor. Now this is, I don't know what to believe here. I'm gonna let this one kind of settle for a couple days because this kind of came out yesterday. It's really only in one article. I think the L'Equipe came out with the article, and there was one individual on Twitter who translated it, which was nice. But I don't know what to believe here. There's a lot of moving parts to this one, and I think we should just now. One part of the news was that Pogba brought this up to the Juventus management, and they then contacted the authorities. So, I guess he did his due diligence in that part, but
I know, it's just,
well, believe
remember when
Pogba.
Ronaldo,
Which one? The brother or the
I think that's the point, is believe Pogba. I think back to like Ronaldo joining, and then there was the alleged accusations from the woman in the States and
in
whatnot,
Las Vegas? Yeah.
and it's like, and now it's like you bring Pogba in, and there's this, and it's a frustrating feeling for Juventini too, like, to just get this ridiculousness that is totally unnecessary and unneeded,
Don't need it.
especially on a team in a rebuild and transitioning and whatnot. So it's just, but the story itself is just absolutely wild. So we just wait and see what's gonna actually happen here and take place. So there's nothing more to add to this other than what's being reported right now and just waiting to see as details unfold and what's going on. I find it like there's so many questions basically, right? Like there's so many more questions. Where's the third brother? Where's Florentine in all of this? You know, and what's he got to say? And there's just so much to it. So we just wait and see. In terms of Pavel Nedved, so obviously the videos of Nedved, I will say this. I thought watching the videos that, and we don't want to get too deep into this because ultimately it doesn't really, it's not the team and the players involved and whatnot, obviously. But I watched the video and I thought, man, he looks very clean shaven and whatnot. I was like, that's kind of weird. He's carrying a lot of scruff lately and whatnot. And there are rumors this morning circulating that they believe those videos are actually from a couple of years ago. So we have to wait and see and whatnot. And there's some already saying in the live chat, hey, he's just enjoying his life. He's doing, you know, he's living his life. He's free to do what he's got to do. Wherever your stance is on how people in certain positions need to act and whatnot, look, we don't even necessarily know 100% that it was that night. So I think we just pump the brakes.
Yeah. I think that's probably the best to say. Just like, let's just wait to see again what happens with this situation. My whole thing is, and I'm sort of right in the middle of this one, just to say, people aren't in their job 24 hours a day. Like some CEOs are, but they're not in their job 24 hours a day. They do have a personal life and they do various things in their personal life. However, people need to realize that everybody has a camera. Everybody has a camera. And thank God you and I sort of grew up in the age where, remember the camcorders, like the little thing that zoom in and out? Those, you would see somebody carrying those around and you wouldn't do stupid things. So I would just say you gotta not do stupid things in public because you do represent the club.
Yeah,
Pavel.
I remember being in the club and there
with
was the flip phones and those cameras were awful. So there was
hey, you watch yourself. That Motorola Razor flip phone was like unbelievable.
LG chocolate spin was such a mint phone, man. I'm telling you, the LG chocolate spin flip, like it wasn't even a flip. It was like a push up half and half. Oh man, with the wheel. Nice. Anyways,
the Nedved thing.
It's cool.
You listen. You're an executive. You can't be doing this stuff. Whether it was 3 years ago, whether it was 3 days ago, whether something comes down from the club, I will see what happens there. But you got to be careful. And that's, you know, with his girlfriend, he's divorced now. He can do whatever he wants. That's his personal life. But
yeah,
still,
so
my stance is
in 2019 or whatever. So
my stance is you got to carry yourself as a vice president to a bit of a higher standard.
Yeah,
right.
It's one of those things, man. Just understand your surroundings and you know, think about like the position you're in and whatnot. So it is what it is. Now, in terms of injuries, so Juve's about to embark on 6 games in 19 days stretch. Okay,
is that what it is?
Yeah. So 6 matches, 19 days. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on the fitness. Okay. And guys staying healthy, guys staying fit. We don't expect anybody to start coming back until around the Fiorentina match. And that's hopefully going to be Di Maria.
Is Saturday.
So, yeah, around 11th to 14th is Di Maria's expected return. So that's actually the following, going to be the following weekend, right? So somewhere around there, we should be expecting Di Maria back. And then again, go from there. But 6 games in 19 days is going to be a hell of a stretch for Juve, and it kicks off this week with Spezia. Let's get into the Roma match because there's mixed feelings on this match too. It was all over social media. It was all over daily update videos, the watch along, the feedback and whatnot. So this Roma match, you know, ultimately we had a little concern about a couple areas on that starting lineup. One being Danilo playing as a center back when you have 2 natural CBs in Rugani and Gatti. The other area of concern was what was going to happen in the midfield based on all the reports prior to the game. But he did reward Miretti with the start, and Miretti in turn rewarded Max with a fine showing. So Max's lineup, I said it after. After I saw it, I go, the pros of being able to start Miretti and balance out that midfield totally outweigh any cons you can come up with on that starting lineup. Would you agree with that, Ant?
Yeah, 100%. You guys did it in the pregame. You guys did a great job to say, you have like for like players in the midfield. We'll see how this goes, but it's just I didn't think a 19-year-old could bring that much poise and the energy you expect from a young player like that. But what he brought, it sort of elevated everyone around it. It even elevated Locatelli, I think, because he knows he has that engine beside him. So I thought it really lifted everybody, and you could see it right from the start. We got the early goal, but right from the start, I thought the whole midfield just looked different with him in there.
Yeah. And this is the thing is, when you balance it out, and there was great balance in that midfield. You could see, so Rabiot would slot over. They would almost become like a two-man pivot between him and Locatelli as Miretti moved forward. Miretti was essentially like an attacking mid. It's just he didn't play it straight up and down in the middle. He started off on that left side and then would work his way forward. I can't help but think if you played that in a true 4-2-3-1 where Miretti only has to go up and down from the middle of the pitch, that it might be a little bit easier. And then you can achieve a little bit more balance between left flank and right flank because he'd have less space to travel, right? But that was a hell of a start against Roma. And obviously Vlahovic comes in with that beautiful free kick, and we're off to the races. From there, obviously, first half, the pressure was immense from Juve. We were causing the turnovers. We were taking it to Roma. Again, unfortunate handball on Vlahovic. I saw it live, and I thought, I think he got away with that one. They let play continue on. Locatelli with a hell of a hit there, trailing in on the run. Cuadrado finds him. Unfortunately, again, called back. Cuadrado himself gets into a great scoring opportunity. Again, not going far post. They should write it on his damn forehead for like the whole week leading up to games so that he could start to figure out shooting far post. He had two guys trailing in on that too. So Cuadrado's on my studs up list potentially for later on. Ant, anything to add to the first half was incredible.
No, my only thing was, sorry, I thought it might have been freezing up there a little bit. I had too much going on the computer at once. I'm actually trying to get somebody else into the show here. So I was doing 8 things at once. I apologize. First half, when you score early, that is always the fear with this Allegri side is then what does Allegri do, tactically once we go up early? And that was really early. When that second goal didn't go in, going back to the entire first half, I didn't really have any complaints with it. They were pressing there. The ball movement was good. Didn't really create a lot of chances other than the goal and that Cuadrado miss. But I even said in the group chat that goal being called back was going to bite us right in the ass, and it did, because we didn't really create anything after that.
Yeah. So in terms of the second half too and whatnot and how we're getting into this, and we'll bring in Omer here, who's just joining us there. How's it going, my man? You're on mute there.
No, he's still working it.
Yeah, we'll wait for Omer to get in here. So in terms of
the
second half,
hey fellas, how are you?
There he is. Ciao. So we just finished kind of brief recap on the first half against Roma. Fantastic half of football. One of the best halves of football I've seen Juve play in quite some time. In terms of what everybody's upset about, so the second half is where it begins, and then it's again not capitalizing on that first half and whatnot. Hey, there's going to be games like that where that happens. If we remember to Inter last season, we outplayed them and again couldn't capitalize, couldn't execute, couldn't take advantage, being ruthless, all this mindset, all of this. It's not for lack of effort and lack of trying. In the second half, I'm telling you, the 55th minute hits, 55 to 60, and you can see these guys are gassed. You could see it all over the pitch. There's guys like, we got tired so early against Roma, and then the problem became trying to maintain the balance. For me, the issue was maintaining the balance on the pitch because he couldn't achieve that with his substitutes. There are arguments that Sule could have played a part and helped keep a little bit of the structure there. But the second you have to, so he has to change Rabiot. Let's start there. He has to change Rabiot. It ended up being cramps and whatnot, so he doesn't have anything that's carrying forward. So that's a positive. So Rabiot's
that's what it was.
Rabiot because he was put in a solid shift. That game.
He was holding his knee, and I'm just like, uh-oh.
I know, I was pretty nervous there too. But Rabiot was, and he put in a good shift. Zakaria came in for him, and I will say, Zakaria did not keep to the level Rabiot had in that game.
He did not.
So Zakaria's got to get it going, and he's got to get it going soon, okay? Now, in terms of the rest of the substitutions, once Miretti leaves, again, you lose that dynamic player in the middle. The only way you achieve that is if Locatelli slots over to the left, but Locatelli was even more gassed than Miretti.
So on that one, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Cuadrado leaves. He had to leave. He was gassed too. McKennie comes on, becomes an outside player. We go to a 4-4-2 hybrid. And that's where it kind of ends there because it doesn't play out anywhere near the same. And you can make the argument, well, go to your 4-3-3 and whatnot, but you still lose the dynamics in the middle of the pitch. He couldn't go like for like. If Fagioli was fit for that one, he could have established that a hell of a lot easier between Rovella and Fagioli and whatnot. I'm not going to go after Max in this one against Roma. And through all this, I don't want to hear because Roma was held to nothing, everybody, okay? Even their goal, back post coverage should have been better from Sandro.
But even that,
they had scraps to deal with all match. I don't want to hear this. They were the better team in the second half because they weren't. They were second place that entire game, okay? Even in the second half, Cuadrado cuts into his left, had a trailing run he could have probably hit, goes left-footed. It doesn't curl in. We had another couple moments, scenarios where we're building up in Roma's final third, and the final 5-foot pass we couldn't make. Vlahovic had an excellent opportunity to hit Locatelli for another one-timer, couldn't make the 5-foot pass. It's execution and whatnot, but that is something you have to build off. We can't just destroy them on this one because we finally laid a blueprint that we can build off of in that first half. Now it's about continuing on with it and letting the guys gain chemistry so the next time you do it, it's not just one goal. It's hopefully 2 and then hopefully 3. You got to get them finding that rhythm and finding that confidence. But that setup in the first and how it played out, that's where it's got to be. Now Max has to figure out how to keep it continuous and not switch to these 4-4-2 hybrids that leave us completely stagnant. That's my quick overview, and now you get into it, man. What do you think?
The one thing that what I thought was going to happen, you could see it happening, was Rovella was coming in. He was at the fourth official on the sideline, and then they scored, and then Allegri pulled him back. So my guess is that Locatelli was coming out, and he was going in just to kind of wrap things up there. So again, you don't score that second one to dust it off. I know people are going to throw out the stats of like that XG system, whatever the hell it is. Like, okay, you know, Juve, I agree that Juve didn't create chances. Juventus put themselves in position to create chances in the final third, but the execution was poor. The cutbacks, the crosses, a lot of work has to be done in the execution. I see a lot of people going after Kostic because he had half of his crosses blocked. Like, what are we doing here? The guy, like, I don't even think he's unpacked yet. and he's already started 2 games. So again, like you said, for me, and I think for you, the blueprint is there. It's there. The let's just give it a little bit of time. And you and I have said, for us, Max is on a short leash, but I think there was a lot of positives there. There was a lot of negatives in the Sampdoria game, but good game against Sassuolo, down play against Sampdoria, and then this one, Roma's a good opponent. I thought they would be better, but they didn't really create anything. And there was no time in that game where I thought Juventus was worried or playing on the back foot. Never happened. So I think
and the other
in
thing
that
is
sense,
too,
I had a lot of positives for it.
Yeah, in terms of the creation, so this is the one I've seen a lot of the negativity coming in is just like, well, we didn't create in open play when we didn't score in open play when not. Well, again, the creation was there and there was the opportunities for those chances to come. Again, it's that last pass, it's that last decision and whatnot. And there are guys that need to be better in those moments. But again, it's part of chemistry. A lot of what we're seeing is the lack of chemistry. That's going to come together. I will say this with Kostic. I wasn't going very hard on him or anything, but there were opportunities where I thought it was a little too quick to just cross in and just decide to cross in. I thought there were a couple opportunities. I'd like to see him put that player under and maybe get in there with a 1v1, just gain that penalty spot area, right? Like gain the area and then maybe force a foul or something, whatnot, right? Even Zakaria had a couple opportunities when he was running up the pitch and he was quick to look in for cross. And I said, gain that area, get into that area, and then drive a low hard cross, because then it becomes a shorter distance. Maybe they deflect it in towards their own net. Like so much more can happen, right? But obviously there's more. There's always room for improvement. This was a big step up. And this is the one question I ask a lot of Juventini that were left frustrated still in this performance. How many of you thought Roma was going to take the game to Juventus?
A lot of people did.
A lot of people did.
Mm-hmm.
So if here we are recapping the match and we can say Roma was second best in that match, their strengths became their weaknesses in a match against us because they wanted to play through the middle and we shut it down completely, forced them to the outsides, and even their outsides had nowhere to go. I saw something there about we had 0 fullbacks to swap in. Incredibly silly. It didn't even matter. We kept our fullbacks back just to shut them down on the outsides, and we actually created all of everything we needed through Kostic, Miretti, Cuadrado. We literally didn't even need them. And they still got pressed forward and whatnot. Is what it is. As far as the plan goes and what he tried to achieve, he nailed it. We just couldn't execute and find those goals, unfortunately. There was a question about that. There was a question about the handball, the VAR, and obviously Smalling had a situation, and you saw it. He goes up for the header, his hands out in front of his head like this, hits the hand first a little bit. Ant, your thoughts on that one?
Well, when you slow everything down into like frame by frame super slow-mo, you're gonna see it. I don't think they really do that on the fly. Well, maybe they should during a game.
They stopped it and they looked at it.
Did they? Again, I think
they didn't call the ref over to look at it though. He was just listening in his ear while they looked at it. So he didn't actually go and look at it, but maybe he should have.
My thing on that one is I saw it. I saw people posting on Twitter. Anyway, somebody made the comment. I was trying to look for. I want to give credit to whoever brought it up, but I couldn't find it. So I apologize. But it didn't affect really the flight of the ball. It was going to hit him either here or here, right? It sort of, it was coming in that direction. If it hit his head and then his hand and then went down, and affected the play, I'd have an issue. But that one there, I know that's going to happen to us this year, and we're probably going to get a PK called against us. I get it. I don't have a big problem with that one. I really, really don't. I think in the grand scheme of things, okay, we should have created more chances against that Roma team to have to rely on us getting that penalty shot called for us.
Yeah, there was
that one. I'm not bothered. I'm not going to lose sleep over that one.
yeah, and there was more instances too.
I think it was Michael who commented on before.
Yeah, there you go. So there were two. Not that was called if Juve. Yeah, it's one of those, you're left with a bad feeling. But I mean, ultimately, we needed to capitalize and step up. We brought the play. We took the game to them. We needed to capitalize. We needed to get it done. Ultimately, so Omer now joining us. Looks like he's got everything sorted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope so. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, the audio's a little choppy, like you're out at sea, my friend.
Like I'm out at sea. Wait. How about now?
No. Okay, go ahead. What do you think we should have got those PK calls?
Me? No way.
I see.
Like, I don't know. It didn't affect the outgoing of the match because we should have won it much earlier. Like, I don't know if I would have been okay with Juve getting those type of PKs called.
Yeah, it's ultimately we didn't need it. We didn't need it.
And I agree with that. See, me and Eric agree. It's a great mind of Steelers fans when two people agree. So it just we got to the right spots, but then everything just kind of stopped.
Steelers fans, great minds.
Stop
okay. So yeah, ultimately that was in our hands. I get the frustration. This is the way I would just cap off the Roma match. In my opinion, good performance. Good performance, poor result. That's it. It's a poor result based on that performance and how it went. And it is. It feels like the 3 points were ours. They were in our hands. Again, we held Roma to nothing. That goal, that back post coverage, awful. And I said it. Guys that want to pick out individual blame and everything on those, the back post coverage, sure, on that corner, you can rag on Sandro for that because it's got to be better. The second that ball gets hit back into the mixer from Dybala, it's anybody's guess who's going to get to that, because that is the easiest way to lose your man mark is when it comes over right across the whole area and then gets put back immediately. It's very, very hard because you start to follow that ball and figure out where you need to be next, and your guy's already broken free. And that's what happened with Abraham, and he found it. But again, let's get to a positive man of the match. We're going to talk about man of the match and everything, and then we're going to get studs up, and then anybody can pick who they want to go studs up in or a scenario or something. But man of the match, I'm going to kick it off with Miretti for me. Miretti, we needed that. We all needed that for Max to get out of his comfort zone. What have I been saying for weeks? If he doesn't find the right mix in the middle of the park, this team's going to continue to struggle. 2 out of Rabiot, McKennie, and Zakaria do not mix, and it doesn't help. It leaves our midfield unbalanced. Miretti showed us what he can do. This is the first match where I can truly say now I see it, and now I feel that confidence in moving forward, because before and last season, those minutes, I wasn't at that level that a lot of Juventini were in, feeling so confident that he should be in there and getting all those minutes. But that was the coming out party we needed, especially right now, waiting for Pogba to come out and everything. So massive credit to him, and massive credit to Max for actually doing it and playing him in that match, because it was so easy for a lot of us to say Max is probably not going to do it because it's Roma, big game and whatnot, but he did. And let's see if we can continue that way. But massive credit to Max and Miretti. So both of them, and hopefully now he has the trust moving forward, because we need it. He brings that dynamic player we need there. If Paredes comes in, look out, because maybe Locatelli can be more of an answer on another side of him as well. That's my man of the match, though, Miretti. Anthony, your man of the match?
Oh, I was going to go to Omer on this one. Omer, go ahead, bud.
There you go, Omer. Go ahead.
Okay, Miretti is the obvious choice. You could just see the spark and the effect he had on the game and when he left. But since you chose him, I'll go with, let's say, a partnership, but mostly Danilo. Out of all the players we've seen in the past 2 seasons on that left-hand side of the CBs, he looked the most comfortable out of those guys. And Bremer felt much more comfortable and trusting himself much more out there on the right. So that partnership it looked strong for me. It looked like a good way to move forward, and it looked better than Bonucci on the right and Bremer on the left. But it's one game that I saw it happening, so I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment. For that game, Danilo would get the man of the match.
There you go. So he's going with Danilo. And
yeah, my first, when I was sort of thinking about it, and I had a little bit more time here since we've kind of talked about it before the show, I was leaning towards Locatelli. I thought he did a lot of good work. I thought he got really dumped on by fans like after the game, which I don't really get. I think people forget what our midfield looked like when he wasn't here, and now how much work he actually puts in when he is here. I was leaning towards that, but Bremer absolutely shut Tammy Abraham down. Like he did all the good stuff. I don't think Bremer put a wrong foot yesterday. Should he have done a little bit better on that goal? Like you said, when the pill gets put in the box and there's a big scramble. So I won't really fault Bremer for the goal. I'm now leaning towards Bremer as my man of the match because he was, Delict too, right? Like he just kind of went in there and he just filled in that void and nothing to worry about at the back. So I'm going to lean towards Bremer.
Yeah.
And hey, Vlahovic is
Vlahovic was a shout. Danilo, Bremer, you can argue. I thought I would agree with you that Locatelli is, in that discussion as well. And I, was subject to the same things as you. I was saying it's funny how you balance out that midfield. You're one physical player, you're one controlling player, and then you're one offensive link-up player. How all of a sudden everybody starts to look better, okay? And Locatelli was one of them. I thought, hey, there you go. Locatelli starts to look better as well. And then I was countered with the same stuff. Oh, he's too slow. He's out of position all the time and all this. And I'm thinking, Loca out of position? It's wild to me. I have zero issues with Locatelli and how he's playing. And I think he's a solid midfielder. Do I have my doubts about him being the answer as Metsala? Actually, I do, but let's wait and see. I do believe he can play there. Obviously, he could play anywhere across the middle of the pitch. I believe his strength is what we saw against Roma because it turned into a two-man pivot with him and Rabiot, and Miretti was allowed that freedom to move forward and be that link. Like I said, if there's one tweak I do is I let Miretti run straight up and down from the middle of the pitch and not force him to come to the left side. It gives him even more freedom to combine on not just the left side, but also the right side of play. Just spitballing.
That's sort of an underrated, I wouldn't say, sorry, underrated problem. You don't see a lot of young players with that confidence to pick up the ball in their half or just at the halfway line and attack center backs like that, attack the middle of the defense. And that's something that we haven't had. We haven't had that player wanting to pick up that ball, and you got to beat the first man. You got to beat that sort of defensive midfielder and attack the defense, to lay off, to draw defenders to you. And Miretti did that. And I agree, if he can kind of hold that central role, or we can give him that central role, he's going to cause teams a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah. The other thing is let's look at this as well in terms of Allegri and his lineup and people that were giving him a tough time about the Danilo thing at the back, and I was even questioning and whatnot. I think it literally comes down to when you look at how that game played out, the ball playing ability. So I don't think Rugani was awful in the ball distribution phase of the game against Sampdoria, but I would have to guess that he felt a lot better about Danilo in moving the ball. And if you look at how many touches Danilo got in that game, and Bremer even constantly going back to him and letting him figure out the next phase that it hits. That's why he was in there. And, they were not an issue whatsoever. This game, frustrating. It just came down to us not bagging enough. And ultimately, even that goal they scored, it's a frustrating one when it comes down to back post coverage. It just kills me. Studs up. We got to go studs up on somebody or something. And I'm going to go studs up on Mr. Juan Cuadrado. I am.
Give me a popular one.
I'm going to go studs up on Juan Cuadrado. So there's just a bunch to it for me. I gave him the benefit of the doubt in the first game, not feeding Vlahovic there, because if you do watch it frame by frame and you see how it's happening, Vlahovic had to make that outside run in order to free up. By the time he does that, Cuadrado's already advanced to a phase where he hasn't trailed off enough to be there. He shoots. My problem with him is not forcing enough out of that keeper in that situation. Like, you drilling it right at him. This game, again, he's got two great opportunities. One, he goes with his weak foot. He took a left foot shot. It's not, sure, it didn't curl on him. It went straight. Good opportunity and everything. But he had the trailing run. The same trailing run that we scored on in the first half that was disallowed to a handball. But second half, he opts to shoot with his weak foot rather than hit the trailer who's running onto that to strike that. The shot he took in the first opportunity, his touch took him a little too far. All the more reason to shoot that thing low and hard back across, because you have two. He had two guys, not just Vlahovic. He had another guy in there running, looking for a rebound. I don't know, man. It's got to be, the decisions are killing Juan again. And there's a drop off from Juan, and everybody, was expecting much more to follow through after that Pirlo season. And I think that Pirlo season was like an anomaly now. And I don't know, but it's got to be way better. And if you're wearing that armband, I mean, we never really got into it after the fact when Vlahovic was giving him the gears about not feeding on that one. And then they kind of got into it. That kind of stuff happens all the time in games and whatnot and between teammates. But as a captain, you got to start doing the basics. If you're not doing the basics and you're the captain, I don't know, man. When it's one-off instance like that, okay, benefit of the doubt. Now you're on 2 games getting into the same scenarios, same issues, and doing the same things and coming off a little bit selfish. Not a good look. Not a good look in my opinion. And we need way more from Juan Cuadrado, because Chiesa ain't going to be back in the mix for a while. And you've got to think when Di Maria comes back, Kostic is probably going to be the one to come off the bench. So we need way more from Juan Cuadrado. I'm going studs up on him. Omer?
And before we get to Omer's take, while everyone's listening, don't forget to like the video while you're here, because we have 58 people here. Please like the video while you're here. Also, get your Storm the Barn questions in, because we're going to be hitting that soon enough. So, Omer, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll have to agree on Cuadrado. Like, no one else was that bad. Cuadrado could have single-handedly won us the game, and if you don't do that, then you single-handedly lose us the game. We could have been 3-0 at halftime if he would have been just more calm and lifting his head up, looking around. And he decided, as he decides in the past, I don't know, season and a half, basically since he got into the rotation with the captain's armband. He started being a bit too confident and always going alone, blasting the keeper, and never looking for that extra pass, which he used to be very good at. So I'm with you on that. I can't single out anyone else. Maybe Kostic, wait a minute before you lob the ball into the area. Just look who's available and where. And that's about it. Cuadrado and it's a recurring thing with him. So we should really up his game.
I agree, especially wearing the armband. Like, he's got to bring a much better play to it. And again, he's no stranger to clutch moments. He's got a lot of them for Juventus and whatnot, and it's fair for us to expect more out of him. He's done it before, and he's not doing it right now. And the fact when you start, giving the gears to your teammates when they're asking for those passes and whatnot, and like I said, clear as day in the first half, you hit Locatelli on that one, and he hits it. The second half, you opt for a left-footed shot that I can't remember seeing Quad hit a left like that and curl it there. So it's weird. It's high percentage opportunities and chances that again, playing those decisions. And studs up. You going studs up?
Yeah, I don't have no, I'm not going to steal the Cuadrado one because you guys explained that really well. I'm going to go studs up on all the doomsdayers out there on Twitter after every match. Doesn't matter what the result is. Things can be better. Blow the whole thing up. This team stinks. What are we doing here supporting this team? Those people. I would love to actually strap on my boots and just go put 24 studs into somebody's shin. But I can't do that because that would be illegal. You can't just do that on the sidewalk. But I would love to do that to some of these people. Just, you got to relax, man. One, go take a walk. After a game, go take a walk. I get that people are frustrated with certain aspects. Like Luca on here will not stop with the 3 fullbacks. Like Luca, you got to stop with the 3 fullbacks. But that's a valid point. But people just, the same people all the time after every game just keep getting so upset. Just have a little patience. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit older and I've learned what patience is and I've learned how to spell patience. Maybe that's what the issue is. But some people just got to relax. You got to relax.
Tony just directing that directly.
No, I'm not. He is part of it. But he's our team member. But I get Raph does bring up good points. It's just in general, people just get so frustrated and it's like relax a little bit. Things will be okay. Life. I
always say, do not let people that say, "Well, they just ruined my weekend." All this. Don't let things that are out of your control ruin your days or anything. So for sure,
we gotta remember it's a hobby. And
exactly.
And you should enjoy your hobbies. If you don't enjoy them, you don't do them. And I can relate. I was super angry after Sampdoria. I was frustrated. It was a horrible match. The last one wasn't all that bad. We saw sparks. We saw improvement. We saw a youngster which we were crying out for. It's not all bad. And at the end of the day, it's a football game. If it's not enjoyable, you don't have to watch. No one is forcing you.
Listen,
so try to enjoy it.
Yeah, you just, again, the Sampdoria match to Roma is night and day. It's night and day. You got to ask about your, you got to, you open yourself up to that one, Ant. You got nobody to blame but yourself. So
possibly, I don't know who Gerardo
nobody
is.
to blame but yourself on that one. It's progress. For me, it's now trying to find that consistently. Okay, and that's what's up to Max and the players is finding that first half consistently. But I do raise questions about this team and the fitness levels because we had a massive, massive drop off in the 55 to 60 minute range in terms of fitness. We can't have guys getting gassed at 55 to 60. And based on our first half, yes, the intensity and the press and everything was there, but it wasn't to the extent where I expected them to be that gassed at 55 to 60 minute range. So that's something I'm going to kind of keep tabs on. It's still early in the season. That should get better, but they were pretty gassed. You had the majority, I'd say 6 guys that you could clearly visibly see from 55 minutes to 60 that were pretty much toasted. And I was like, you're going to have to make some changes. And Max actually held on till about 74 other than the Rabiot one to start making the moves. And I was wondering when these moves were going to come, but I also saw that he wasn't going to be able to keep it up based on the options he had available. He was going to lose the balance in our play from making those changes. It's one of those things, but
yeah, it's this is where you see all the injuries, come to play when you have to call players off your bench and maintain the same fluidity and the same formation you had, and suddenly you don't have those type of guys. Imagine if Di Maria played the match and then you got Cuadrado coming off the bench for that same role. That's an entirely different story. So that's one thing. The other thing is that Roma adjusted. Like Juve saw that Juve benefited from Roma not having a Rangista in that match, and they had a very slow midfield with Matic and Cristante there, and their defenders, their fullbacks were really high up, and Juve took advantage of that. And Mourinho adjusted at halftime and brought in another midfielder. They moved to a 4-3-3, and Allegri didn't react. And that's the type of stuff I want Allegri to start doing, even with a depleted roster. But the injuries come to play when you have them at the beginning of the season. Like you said, they were all done at the 55th minute. That's when you need your subs. And at the moment, we don't have them. That's why I'm not, overly angry with that draw. Frustrating, but could be better.
Yeah. So, and Anthony opens up a can of worms here. You got mixed feelings. There are people, Hutch from China here, in my community getting up at 2:45 a.m. to watch a Juve game just to trash on it. I will never understand them. You've got another one here saying you can't relax when you live for your team, mate. I don't know how old you are, but I'm 41. And when we lose points like that, it affects my mood, my day, etc. This is what real fans do suffer. So listen, I'm not ever going to say who's a real fan and who's not a real fan. Everybody can choose to support however they want, and you can feel whatever way you want about all these matches. But the thing is, I think what Ant's trying to get at is the perspective that's being lost. It's that perspective. Of course, nobody wants to see Juve lose points in any manner, whether it's being 1-0 up and then dropping it and whatnot. But again, it's that perspective. It's the perspective that were Max's hands somewhat tied in trying to maintain the balance on that one based on the options that were coming in? I think so. Sandro got beat on a back post cross there and whatnot, and Sandro's been one of the guys we can't do anything with on this roster. Does De Sciglio maybe do better on that back post coverage? I can't necessarily say that he would. Would Luca Pellegrini have done better on that back post coverage? I can't necessarily say that he would have also. It's literally one moment and one play that crumbled up those points. In terms of the execution before, high percentage, chemistry of these guys doing it. Have we seen Juve play in that manner this season so far? We're only 3 games into it, for God's sakes. We're only 3 games into the season. Games. We haven't seen them play like that first match. We haven't had Moretti in for that long to go in it. Moretti was not on the U.S. summer tour playing with them, and they didn't play in the manner they did against Roma. So to expect that instant chemistry, instant clink, 4-goal bangers, it's not happening. So we're just saying maintain that perspective. If you want to let it run your mood and whatnot and go with it. Do it. Be upset, be choked. But I think the perspective is that's a big, big jump from what we've been seeing. And there are positives even in a 1-1 draw. That 1-1 draw is not going to decide the Scudetto, everybody. Scudetto is not decided in a match against Roma 3 games into the season.
It could be against Spezia on Wednesday, though, if we draw 1-1.
The Spezia one, the Sampdoria one hurt. But again, you could be frustrated that, hey, why didn't we give those young guys a shot against Sampdoria, because a lot of us were calling it. Hey, that's fair. That's fair. But the perspective, I think, out of this Roma match is that there was progression made. The blueprint was laid. You got to move. It's realizing where we are as a team right now, which is a rebuild. And this might be the first time the rebuild's actually starting to take shape, because it never truly happened with Sarri. It was a reset. Never happened with Pirlo. Reset. And then Max's last year pretty much a wash, because it can't take fold until you start to commit to a manager. This is the first time. So the rebuild actually starts now, not 3 years ago. It's actually starting now. It's just that perspective. And
everyone lost points.
Exactly.
No team has won their 3 games. It's just
it is. There's nobody that's got 9 points out of 9 points right now. So everybody's pretty much at 7.
Doesn't
6,
matter.
And then we're at 5.
Napoli's already won the Scudetto according to Twitter.
According to
we
Napoli,
have no chance of winning this thing.
And the best Mercado, all this, it's funny with them. Anyways,
actually, Napoli and Rome, they're going to have joint trophies at the end of the year, according to Twitter. So, I believe Twitter.
Yeah. It's just, again, I understand the lack of patience because of the cycle we went through, which was incredible, winning 9 and stuff. But even towards the end of that, maybe after what, 6, you start to see it taken for granted. And
Cracks starting to
everybody's
form
talking
too.
about, oh, it's just the Scudetto. That doesn't matter. We want Europe and all this. And they start taking for granted the Scudetto. When I remember the teams in 97, you know, and the 90s that couldn't win the Scudetto, you know, and awesome teams, but weren't winning league and stuff. And that happens, you know. It's you start taking things for granted, and then your patience level is essentially gone because you've been just dominating for so long. You know, we had 5 doubles, you've got 9 straight Scudetti, and then all of a sudden your patience level is gone completely. Just, you know, again, the perspective of where we are from where that team was, it's night and day. So it's where you got to be. We've got some Storm the Barn questions we're going to kind of wrap things up with and whatnot and see what we got here. What are the expectations for Spezia? Shouldn't take that. No, I don't even have to read the rest of this here. Okay. The expectations, my expectations are
3
what
points.
we saw in the first half against Roma consistently against any and all opposition. Bottom line, that drive, that mentality, that press, that pressure we put the teams under. And not only that, but a strategy and tactics that match the team you're going to play against, because we didn't match it against Sampdoria. We actually mirrored what they were doing when we shouldn't have. Something like a 4-2-3-1, that hybrid with Miretti that we did against Roma would have worked better against Sampdoria. So what we saw against Roma first half, that's what I want to see regardless of the opposition. In terms of the players, Gatti to get minutes against Spezia, sure. Rovella, if he's still around, might not
he
be.
won't play.
Might not be, and wouldn't get the start, in my personal opinion. But yeah, guys, are you the same as me? You just want to see that Roma thing exact, like replicated essentially, especially mentality, but also just the players like Miretti's, until we get sorted out with who's going to be another Mezzala and creative in there. Miretti's kind of got to be a lock in there, does he not?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He exploited dead space. That's what's been missing. That's why all the back passes between the defenders, because there's no one in the dead space and everyone like stays in formation. They don't have to run to defenders. And suddenly when Miretti was on, he exploited that dead space. And they always took players out of position, which created opportunities for other players and for the rest of the team. And that's what we were missing. That's what Paulo Dybala used to do fantastically for Juve for a few years. So that's what I'm expecting to see. Move them out of possession, exploit the dead space, and put the pressure like you did against Roma for the rebounds and everything. And just don't go back to the defense every time you can find a way through the left or the right.
Yeah.
The only comment I have about that question was with the 31st being the last day of the Mercato, I don't see Rovella playing. If there's any chance of him being loaned, I don't even see him really being in this. I could see him being on the bench, but I don't even see him take his jacket off. They're not going to risk any. If that loan has to go through, they're not going to risk any sort of delays with the medicals to get that done. So, unfortunately, I'd like to see him stay, but I don't see him playing.
And going back to earlier when I said it'd be one of McKennie and Zakaria, I would move, and keeping Rovella is a big part of that reason why, because I think the long-term gain definitely outweighs the sacrifice on one of McKennie or Zakaria now, in my opinion. That's just me. Tony, you're coming in with the scary part as a Juve fan is when all players come back, Pogba, Di Maria, Chiesa, and we play bad and Allegri stays after the season. That's the scary part, which I don't want to overthink yet. Well,
you're making a lot of assumptions.
And this is the thing, and this is what I was saying during the watch along against Roma. And this is why I answered Luca's question with, I don't even need to read it all. I expect that what we saw in that first half consistently. But if we can play that consistently, and if we can find a mix in the midfield that balances. So then when Pogba comes back, Pogba becomes a creator. Miretti is like a fallback option, which would give you impact off the bench, right? Or maybe you want to go full firepower. Miretti plays the opposite side. Paredes comes in. It's still yet to be determined if he can have that impact as a regista. Maybe Locatelli's an answer on the other side. But if you look at that Roma game and you tell me Pogba's in there and Chiesa's in there and it doesn't get even better, Di Maria, and it doesn't get even better, and we don't come out of that first half with more goals, I don't know, man. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. If we have those guys in there and we could play in that manner, that's why it's crucial for me now for Max to get that blueprint going consistently. Because when those guys comes back, it just gets even better, in my personal opinion. That's how I feel. What do you guys think?
See, this is where I could sit down with my man Tony here, or woman, I'm not sure who it is, and just say, listen, you're worrying about things that haven't happened yet. Let's get those players back and let's see how the team performs. If down the road the team does not perform with those players in, then we can talk about what Allegri should stay or go. And then if he stays, then we could discuss, those things of, how that makes you feel. But to worry about, okay, when those players come back, what if we play bad, he's going to get fired. I don't see the benefit to yourself to worry about those things. It's something that could happen, yes, but we haven't seen our full squad since the American tour, really, right? Pogba played 45 minutes. So I think we really need to give a little bit of leash here to get the whole team in, and let's see how they perform. It's going to take a little bit of time. And then if they don't perform, I'll drive the boat for Allegri out if the whole team doesn't perform.
There you go. There you go. Heard it here. He's going to drive the boat.
Captain the boat, whatever.
Why do you think we struggle to put together great performances back to back? Like last season, we put in a great Champions League performance against that Russian team, then went back to being flat next game. So, I mean, we're only 3 games in, so I guess it's Sassuolo,
let's talk about this season.
Sampdoria to Roma. In this particular season, only being 3 games in, we haven't seen the same from one game to the next. So against Sassuolo, you had your hybrid setup. It worked because of the goal with Di Maria, and Sassuolo played an open game. Okay, played an open game, and it worked. Sampdoria was an open game. It wasn't as closed off as Max Allegri would lead you to believe in his words after it. It was fairly open, but we mirrored them formation-wise, which was a bad idea. And we saw that the guys were just not able to pull it off. And our mid was very, very flat and not complementary to one another. Let's put it that way. So we haven't seen the same thing. Against Roma, it was completely different. 9 days. So we haven't seen the same thing. So it's hard to really say. In years past, I was questioning mentality. And I thought mentality had a lot to do with it as well, because, it's been different from season to season, even between managers. But last year, I don't know. I still think, again, the midfield combinations, I always fall back to the midfield combinations. I swear you win and lose games based on your midfield. And when you're coming out with midfields that are lacking the dynamics, I think it's a big part of why you see flat play, tempo. It's all controlled from the middle of the park, okay? Your tempo, everything. And it's been too flat. I said it. I've been saying it for weeks. Max needs to find the right mix in the middle of the pitch. He's got his blueprint. He's got to move. That's how I feel anyways. Do you guys have anything to add on in terms of why you think we might be struggling to put together back-to-back performances?
It depends. Like the example you gave, Dales, is between Champions League and the league game. Now, the teams in Serie A know Juve, know what to expect, and they smell blood. They see that the team is not performing at the highest level and they're a bit fragile. And it's not that Juve of 4 years ago when you were scared were they coming. And you let go of your style of play and let them do their thing and try to defend. And minimum damage out of the match. It's different now. They know that one goal can break Juve. These small teams from Italy, they don't play Champions League or Europa League. They don't send players to international duties. So when you meet them, they have been rested for a week. They're training together for a whole week. It's an entirely different game. And when your team, like Juve, are fragile and their performances, even in Champions League, are not that good, they take advantage of that. And they always will try. That's what I want Juve to get back, that fear factor. That don't mess with us. You can't do the stuff. If you'll do that, you'll get punished. And Juve kind of lost that. That's what I think we can't pull back-to-back performances. Needless to add the injuries that don't keep us from playing the same formation, the things that work. So there's a lot of reasons to it, and every case is a different one. That's the main reason, in my opinion.
Yeah. Anth, anything to add?
Nothing to add. Perfectly said.
We got two more we're going to slam in here for Storm the Barn as we wrap up this session here. So should Max get the sack if we drop points against Spezia, Fiorentina, and get smashed by PSG if the team consistently performs poorly in all three games?
Like, I don't know. Sure. No, I have no idea. I don't know.
It's a different answer. If you ask me now, I would say no. Ask me after the game, I will definitely say yes.
It's
like, do
we
run into three hot goalies and they save 45 shots a match and we're just unlucky for 3 games? Does he get fired? I don't know.
That's just it. I mean, there's so many variables that can change that. So are we out chancing and outclassing these teams and the guys not executing and scoring goals that they should be? Like arguably Cuadrado could have sealed the deal for us against Roma and didn't. Arguably could have put the game against Sampawit. Like, what are we talking about here? So there's a lot of variables to that. I don't think you can just answer that based on just losing points. It's all about how as well too, right? So it's why I'm not at that level that a lot of Juventini are with the drop points against Roma. Sure, I'm pissed off about it. No kidding, I'm pissed off about it. But in the grand scheme of things, the guys were in the opportunity to win that, and they couldn't get it done on the pitch too. So players got to be held somewhat accountable as well, right?
100%.
Is it just me or Paredes at 8 million a season worrying? Gives me Rabiot and Ramsey vibes. Why do this to the team again? So I was saying this when it was Sadi. I was saying it when it was Pirlo. But if you're going to get a manager, you almost have to commit one Mercado to that manager in order for it to be fair. And Paredes is Max's guy. It's clear as day. This is the guy he's handpicked. This is the guy he wants. And hopefully that does, in fact, unlock the midfield. If it does not, is it worrying? Is it concerning? Can he bring less than what Arthur has? I don't think so. I don't see that happening. So I'm not as concerned as you, Michael Razzo, but that's how I feel. I'm okay with Paredes coming in. To be honest, is it a little concerning? Yeah, because I have my doubts about the structure and Locatelli as Mezzala being that unlocking player or whatnot. But maybe a Rovella, keeping Rovella and Locatelli mix at that would help, especially with Moretti's kind of breakthrough there. Maybe that's a better route. Maybe it is the better route. I don't know. Omar, Ant, how do you guys feel about Paredes coming in a season? Are you worried or not?
It's not exactly the same because Ramsey and Rabiot were signed. Paredes, as far as the reports go, is alone. Like, if it doesn't work out, if he gets injured, you can call it off, not buy him, and that's it. So it's not the same case. And, anything can go wrong. You can play one game and get injured for the rest of the season. This stuff happen. Our own Arkadiusz Milik, how he got injured in the third game of the season and was out for the rest. He got injured in an international game and missed the rest of the season. So this stuff can happen. It's not in the player's fault. I don't know. It can be during a match, but we're not obligated like we were with Ramsey and Rabiot, which were bad deals.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a way out. They left the door open if he doesn't perform or gets injured, and that's better from the management.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned. I'd be concerned. I fully agree with Omer. I'd be concerned with the 8 mil if it was like 4 years guaranteed. But since it's a loan deal, I think it's a 1+3 optional, and which is brilliant piece of business because that's what they seem to be doing these days. In terms of like the deals, they're pushing more for the loans. Fully agree with Omer. If it's a loan deal, it makes me a lot less worried.
There you go. There you go. Everybody, like the video while you're here. Okay, like the video. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. It's all Juve all the time. We're getting ready for the midweek one. We are going to be back for a match day live on that day to get ready for Juve Spezia. Obviously, I'll be tackling the daily news updates in between, and then we go from there. Everybody's got mixed feelings right now on this Juve. Everybody's lacking patience. I myself find myself in that category at times too, because we want the team to just be rolling and get it all put together. But it's going to take a bit of time. There's been a lot of change over this team, okay, in a short period of time. It's got to click. Like I said, the blueprint is there. The blueprint is there. We just got to build off it and find it consistently. We got a ton of questions on how to support the channel. We have Super Chat enabled, but also check out Strike Parts Apparel, now directly linked with our YouTube channel. Okay, a lot of cool designs there to check out and whatnot. And there's more designs coming very, very soon. Link is in the description to this video. All right. And yes.
Oh, the Discord. So there's a question here from
the Discord. There's a link in this video to the Discord, but unfortunately, it is
I'll answer that in the Discord.
Is actually basically an old link. I didn't know that the time expired, but you can find it on our Twitter page. We'll repost it today as well. Come join the Discord. The discussions just carry on and extend beyond the shows. Okay. Thank you for everybody who took the time to join. Thank you for all your continued support. And as always, no matter what, like Michael Razzo puts it, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Let's, we're 5 points, 7 at the top there. I said Max has to keep it close, and he has to figure out the blueprint of how we need to move forward and then get guys healthy. We're still on track to kind of do all these things. The execution now needs to be matched by the players as well on the pitch. Everybody, relax, take time. You're very welcome, Vito. Okay, thank you guys for the continued support. We will see you midweek for another live as we get ready for Juve Spezia. Okay, and that has to be 3 wins. Has to be 3 wins. Fino alla fine, Forza Juve. Let's kick off the week right, everybody. Okay, enjoy your Mondays. Ciao.